Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today our subject is social deviation. It is subject of school, community and teacher. It is lecture number 21 and its code is 272. Today the outlines of lectures are: first of all we shall see some introduction, then causes of social deviation, and then types of social deviation, and then we shall see some examples of common social deviations. First of all, what is meant by social deviance? Social deviance is considered as a broad term. It tends to describe actions or behaviors that violate society's norms, and the norm in the simple context are rules by which members of the society are expected to conform to. When it comes to discussing the term deviance, it tends to mean a person's failure to conform to unspoken rule established by society. Social deviance can have many forms and interpretations. Deviant acts are primarily relative to the setting because deviance in one place could be considered non-deviance in other place. So theft, violence, murder or any kind of criminal behavior can be considered either deviant or non-deviant depending on the context. It's coming up to the country's establishment and governing bodies to determine which act are and aren't acceptable. An example could be murdering someone for drugs is not acceptable, but murdering someone in an act of self-defense is. It can be concluded all acts of deviance are subjected to review and accepted on the condition that it fits what society holds acceptable. Deviance is behavior that some people in society find offensive and which excites or would excite. If it were discovered, disapproval, punishment, condemnations, or hostility. So, deviance is behavior that is likely to get you into trouble. Deviant behavior is outside the bounds of the group or society. This is saying by Gooding. Acts of deviance can result in some very positive outcomes. So, social deviance is a phenomenon that has existed in all societies where there have been norms. So, there are two possibilities for how an individual will act in the face of social norms: conform or violate. So, there are implicit social norms and explicit social norms. So, if we see some examples, so examples of formal deviance include robbery, theft, rape, murder, and assault. And informal deviance refers to the violations of informal social norms, which are norms that have not been codified into law. Cultural norms are relative, which makes deviant behavior relatives as well. A typology is classification scheme designed to facilitate understanding. According to Merton, there are 5 types of deviance based upon these criteria: conformity, innovation, ritualism, ritualism, and rebellion. So, how does social deviance contribute to the social problems? Social deviance has become a social problem because society is what sets the standards of what may be deviant. Over time, deviance acts may become less deviant due to society becoming more lenient. So, these habits can lead to poverty conditions because they are seen as deviant within a society. What is deviance and causes? So, the word deviance connotes odds or unacceptable behavior, but in the sociological sense of the word, deviance is simply any violation of society's norms. So, deviance can range from something minor, such as traffic violations, to something major, such as murder, or simply a bad habit, such as speaking up to too much in class. The next one is the other definition of the saying of Stuart Henry. It reveals that underlying process by which some people get sucked into deviant lifestyles from which there appears to be no escape, highlighting the central role of social stigma on the person identity. Deviance has four social functions. Deviance classifies our cultural values, and deviance helps to define our morality. And thirdly, deviance helps to unify society. And finally, the fourth function is deviance promotes social change. So, if we talk about the deviant behavior, so this is a behavior that is contrary to the dominant norms of society. There are many different societies theories also on what causes a person to perform deviant behavior, including biological explanations, sociological explanations, as well as psychological explanations. Deviating as from what is considered acceptable. Now, there are some causes of social deviance. Broken family and improper socialization. Family is the first institution teaching norm of social life. So, lack of religious education and morality, rejection by neighborhood, lack of basic facilities, parentless child, mass media, urban slums. So, lack of socialization, then unpopular social laws, extraordinary exploitations, cultural invasions. If we talk about the causes of deviant society, then it is a failure of learning of norms which creates deviance. Socializing institutions fail to perform their rules. The learning of norms is the basis of obedience to norm. There are few institutions of socialization of norms in which the personality of the individuals develops. So these are also agencies of social controls. Like the first one, we may say that broken family and improper socialization. Family is the first institution teaching norm of social life. Parents play an important role in this process. Siblings are the second to socialize their members of family. If both or one of the parents is absent by death or other reasons, the child fails to get proper learning, requires affections and needs satisfaction in the family. He becomes disturbed emotionally and seeks protection in the company of others outside the family. He learns antisocial activities like smoking, gambling, pickpocketing, abusing, telling lies, and deviating others in association of bad neighborhood. He gets into the habit of deviance and becomes delinquent. Delinquency enters into the social life. He becomes criminal in adulthood and gets into the company of big lack of interest in education. School and colleges are the next socialization institution of education. The next, we may say that lack of religious education and morality. Mass religious educations of the Holy Quran and the Sunnah creates moral values and the individual. Manners of social life based on good and bad, right and wrong, developed during social relations and these institutions. So norms of good conduct forbid man from wrongs doings. Then rejection by neighborhood. Neighborhood consists of a number of houses adjoining together to meet the needs of collective living. It is great socializing institutions by frankly living with security and service together. A cluster of families in street line provides social education to the members of neighborhood. All live and informal life. What was to be learned in this settlement of if remains without learning creates a gap in socialization and the personality. So this gap leaves defects in the learning process of individuals. The lack of basic facilities. Humans strive for attaining peace and ease in social life. The objective is achieved through having basic facilities like electricity, gas, telephone, air conditions, better health opportunities, schooling of children. So there are many who use wrong way like crime, robbery, theft, dacoit, selling of drugs just to have access to modern facilities. This desire to have facilities at any cost causes social deviance. Then there are some types of social deviance. According to the Merton, there are five types of deviance based upon these criteria: conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. Modern topology is fascinating because it suggests that people can turn to deviance in the pursuit of widely accepted social values and goals. So, Emile Durkheim believed that deviance is a necessary part of the successful society. One way deviance is functional, he argued, is that it challenges people present views. For instance, when black students across the United States participated in sit-ins during the civil rights movement, they challenged society notions of segregation. Moreover, Durkheim noted when deviance is punished, so it reaffirms correctly held social norms, which also contributes to society. There are four main forms of deviance. Those are societal deviance, that is an act of which most of the society would agree is not classed as a part of normal behavior. Drug abuse could be considered as societal deviance. Most of the society believes that it is not normal and encourages criminal behavior. Drug users become outcast and are considered to be deviant. In Arab countries such as Dubai and Yemen, it is socially unacceptable due to the religious culture of these countries for women to be seen without wearing the traditional hijab. However, in Western society, any women wearing one is seen as being deviant as it is not part of the Western culture. So, this would be considered situational deviance, where it is not only considered deviance in the culture you are in at time and may not be considered deviant by every society. So, there are also collective or public deviance. So, this is deviance shared by the group of people and which does not conform to that which is considered social norms, however follow set of norms they have created within their own subculture. Gang culture could be described as a deviant, as most would say that the value of the gangs would not conform to the values of normal society. So, this is considered anti-social behavior, and in 2003 the government considered this problem. They created the Anti-Social Behavior Act 2003. Crime is considered to be the act of breaking the law of the society you are in. However, a crime can often be considered deviant by some societies. An example of this is speeding. Some may consider speeding to be a deviant, however, the police and social institutions consider this to be a crime. Good or admired behavior. Although we have set of laws and social norms in the country, these may not be considered either crime or deviance in other cultures. So, with the introduction of some other legal acts, so anyone of the different countries free carry a weapon on their persons, and all weapons had to be locked away. This is given by some countries. They have their own rules, laws. Then odd behavior. Some believe that the need to commit crime comes from biological constructions, that certain types of people have hormonal or brain differences which causes them to become deviant from society and makes them more inclined to commit crimes. Then bad behavior. Over time and as a social attitudes change to the norms and values of those societies, these can often lead to acts which were once considered crimes or deviant to become norms. Then there are some examples of common social deviance like drug addictions, homosexuals, teenage pregnancy. So examples of formal deviance includes robbery, theft, rape, murder, and assault. The second type of deviant behavior involves violations of informal social norms, means norms that have not been codified into law, and is referred to as informal deviance. In sociology, deviance describes an action or behavior that violates social norms, including a formally enacted rules, as well as the formal violations of social norms like rejecting folkways and vows. Primary defiance refers to the initial act of deviance, and if the person continues to veer away from the acceptable behavior, then their actions or titles secondary deviance. So let's say Susan continues to steal store items as she enters her teenage years. She gets into trouble with the police and gets labeled a thief. Social norms regarding public behaviors like shake hands when you meet someone, make direct eye contact with the person you are speaking with. Unless the movie theater is crowded, do not sit right next to someone. So do not stand close enough to a stranger to touch arms or hips. So deviance is any behavior that violates culture norms. So norms are social expectations that guide human behavior. Norms are social expectations that guide human behavior, and deviance is often divided into two types of deviant activities. The first crime is the violation of formally enacted laws and is referred to as formal deviance. Examples of formal deviance would include robbery, theft, rape, murder, and assault, just to name a few. The second type of deviant behavior refers to the violation of informal social norms, and they have not been codified into laws and is referred to as informal deviance. So its examples of the informal deviance might include picking one's nose, uh, belching loudly in some cultures, or standing too close to another unnecessary, again in some cultures. So as the last two examples in the preceding paragraph illustrated, deviance can vary quite dramatically from culture to culture. So this makes sense given that cultural norms are relative. If norms are relative, so what is required to deviate from those norms is relative as well. For instance, in general US society, it is uncommon for people to restrict their speech to certain hours of the day. Sociological interest in deviance includes both interest in meaning formal deviance and examining how people individually and collectively define some things deviant and other normative, and a number of theories that try to explain both the role of deviance in society and its origins. Other examples of social deviance are prostitutes. They usually sell themselves for the taste of others, and mentally ill, the persons who remains mentally ill due to the different problems. So the people don't care about such personalities. And the atheist, they have their own point of view. The other examples of common social deviance are cross dressers and juvenile delinquents. So dear students, so this was all about these lessons. I'm very thankful to you for being with me. Here I would explain some of the few questions like how does social deviance contribute to the social problem? So we can answer it like social deviance had become a social problem because society is what sets the standards of what may be deviant. Over time, deviance acts may become less deviant due to the society becoming more lenient. So these habits can lead to poverty conditions because they are seen as deviant within the society. Okay, the other question is that what is deviance and causes? So I tell you that the word deviance connotes odd or unacceptable behavior, but in the sociological sense of the word. Deviance is simply an evolution of society norms And deviance can range from something minor, such as traffic violations, to something major, such as murder, or simply bad habit, such as speaking up too much in class. So, what is forms of deviance? So, deviance is another behavior that violates cultural norms and the norms of social expectations that guide human behavior. Deviance is often divided into two types of deviant activities. For example, formal deviance would include robbery, theft, rape, murder, and assaults, etc. So, this was all about this lecture. Thank you very much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.